Happy New Year everyone! I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and holidays. In this episode, I would love to share the Sassy Satchel project. This is a mid-sized bag with lots of pockets, really cute and functional, perfect for work, school, etc. The finished measurements are about 13 inches wide at the widest point, by 11 inches tall, by 4 inches deep. At the front here, there are two zipper pockets, slip pocket on each side panel and the back. It comes with a zipper closure, and in the interior there is a zipper pocket and clear vinyl pockets. You may get the PDF cutting instructions for this project at YoanSewingStudio.com. I will put the link in the description box down below as well. Alright guys, please enjoy this tutorial, and without further ado, let's get started. First, we're gonna work on the front zipper pocket. So let's prepare the zipper. You will need two 9-inch long zippers. I'm using metal zipper here, but feel free to use nylon coil zipper. For the zipper tabs, you will need to cut two little rectangles, one for each end of the zipper. Fold the long sides in half, just like that. You can go and press this or just finger press. And then position that right on the zipper extension tape, just like so. Clip to secure this in place for now. Repeat the same to the opposite side. Once everything is secured, let's stitch this in place with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Trim off the excess fabric so that they will be the same width as the zipper tape. Work the same way for the second zipper. Next, we're gonna work on the lower zipper pocket, so prepare panel 3. Make sure to apply some fusible woven interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric. Apply some basting tape on the top edges of the fabric. Now take the zipper with the start of the zipper at your left hand side. Lay this right side down. Finger press so that the basting tape will be sticking onto the zipper tape. Apply some basting tape on the edges of the zipper tape, and then take panel 4 or the inner pocket panel and lay that right side down. Finger press to secure the fabric, and then stitch with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now let's turn this right side out. Press the seams, both the exterior and the interior, and then top stitch. Next, we're gonna sew panel 2. So again, make sure that this panel is fused with fusible woven interfacing on the wrong side. Apply some basting tape on the edges of the zipper tape. Now lay panel 2 with the right side facing down. So the bottom edges of the panel 2 should be aligned with the top edges of the zipper. Please pay attention to this, especially if your fabric has directional print. Now let's flip to the wrong side. Apply some basting tape on the edges of the zipper tape, and then bring the bottom edges of the panel 4 towards the top. Finger press to secure everything, and then stitch with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So the lower pocket is done. Now let's apply some basting tape on the top edges, and then take the second zipper, making sure that the direction of the zipper is the same with the lower zipper. Lay that right side down. Now apply some basting tape along the edges of the zipper tape. Take panel 5 and lay that right side down. Secure everything, and then sew with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Turn this to the right side. Finger press the seams and top stitch. Now apply basting tape on the edges of the zipper tape. Lay panel 1 with the right side facing down. And again, if your fabric has directional print, make sure that the bottom edges is aligned with the edges of the zipper tape, just like shown here. Now flip this to the wrong side. Apply some basting tape along the edges of the zipper tape. Bring the bottom edges of panel 5 towards the top edges, just like so, and then stitch with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to finger press the seams and top stitch. We want this panel to measure 12 inches tall, so if there's any excess fabric, you want to trim off the bottom edges. Once you've done that, you want to stitch the side edges where the pocket fabrics are sitting with about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And that's it guys, the front exterior is done. Now let's move on and work on the back exterior. So prepare panel 6 and 7. Cut panel 6 from fabric 2 or the canvas fabric, and for panel 7 you want to cut one from the fabric 3. Now sew panel 6 and 7 right sides together with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to press the seams open and then top stitch. Now we're gonna make the slip pocket, so prepare panel 8. Fuse the wrong side of the pocket exterior with some fusible woven interfacing. Lay them right sides together and then stitch the top edges with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you wanna press the seams open, fold wrong sides together, press it again, and then top stitch. Alright, once the pocket is ready, you wanna lay that on the right side of the back exterior panel, aligning the sides and the bottom edges. Secure them in place and then stitch the sides and the bottom with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And that's it, the back exterior panel is done. For the side panels or panel 9, you want to cut 2 rectangles from fabric 2 or the canvas fabric here. Next, we're going to work on the D-ring tabs for the adjustable strap. So cut 2 little rectangles from fabric 1. Fold and press this in a 1/4 widthwise to make a 1 inch wide strip, and then stitch all around with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. On the right side of the side panel, you want to measure 1/2 inch from the top edges right on the center and put a little mark there. Now take the D-ring tab, of course with the D-ring already attached, and position that right on the top center with the top edge of the D-ring sitting on the 1/2 inch point mark, just like shown here. And then you want to stitch the bottom edges here with about an 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm just holding on the D-ring tab here since it's pretty difficult to pin this. This time I've already changed my presser foot to walking foot to make this goes much smoother. And there's no need to backstitch since we are technically just basting this in place. Once the D-ring tab's already attached, you want to take panel 11 or the D-ring tab holder, fold the long sides towards the center and then press. Now we're going to position this about 1.5 inch down from the top edges. Obviously, it should be covering the raw edges of the D-ring tab. Secure with some clips and then stitch along the edges with about an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. When you are sewing over the D-ring tab, you may want to backstitch to reinforce the seams. So your side panels should look just like this at this point. For the side pockets, you want to cut 2 from each fabric 2 and fabric 3. So we're going to work this pretty much the same way as we did the back exterior pocket. Let's lay the exterior and the interior right sides together and then stitch the top edges with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to press the seams open and then fold wrong sides together and then press it again and top stitch. Lay the pocket panel on the right side of the side panel, of course with the right side facing up, aligning the sides and the bottom edges. Clip to secure this in place and then stitch the sides and the bottom with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Work the same with the other panel and that's it. The side panels are done and ready to go. For the adjustable strap, you will need a 1 inch wide webbing about 55 inches long. I recommend to use cotton webbing for more comfort. For the hardwares, you will need 2 swivel hooks and the adjustable strap slider. Install all the hardwares, and once you've done that, you want to set this aside for now. Next, we're going to work on the shoulder straps. So you want to cut 2 strips of fabric measuring 24 inches long and 3 inches wide. Apply some fusible woven interfacing on the wrong side. And just like the usual, we're going to fold and press the fabric in a 1/4 and then stitch all around with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So you should end up with 3/4 of an inch wide strips. Position the strap on the right side of the exterior panel about 2 inches away from the side edges, just like shown here. Make sure that the strap isn't twisted at this point. Secure them with some clips and then stitch with about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to hold this in place. Repeat the same for the back exterior. Now we're gonna assemble the exterior panels together. Lay the front exterior panel right side up and then lay the side panels on each side of the front panel. With the right side facing together, you wanna sew the side panel and the front exterior panel with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And of course, you wanna repeat the same to the opposite side. Next, you wanna take the back panel, lay that right side down. Align the edges of the right hand side with the edges of the side panel, just like so. Secure them with some clips and then sew with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, once you've done that, you want to sew the opposite side, also with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and you should end up with something like this. For the bottom exterior, you will need to apply some foam stabilizer on the wrong side of the fabric. This will add a nice structure at the bottom of your bag. We need to find the center point of the long sides of the bottom panel. Simply fold this in half, just like that, and then take a pair of scissors and snip right on the edges of the center point on both sides. Now find the center point of the bottom of the bag, so simply fold this in half, match the seams just like so, and then snip and repeat the same to the opposite side. With the bottom side of the bag exterior panel facing up, you want to take panel 10 or the bottom base panel and lay that right side down. First, we're going to match the center point of the panel 10 with the center point of the bag, and then clip and repeat the same to the opposite side. And then clip all around to secure this in place. And once everything is secured, stitch all around with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Sew with the bottom base facing up, and I recommend to do it one side at a time instead of pivoting. If you haven't done this before, this may be a bit tricky for you, but it is very forgiving, so don't worry too much about getting everything super perfect. Just make sure that all the corners are stitched through. Again, I highly recommend using walking foot. It will make your life much easier. And that's it. The bag exterior is done. Now let's set this one aside and we're gonna work on the bag interior. Take panel 13 and 14 and you wanna lay them right sides together just like that. And then sew with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you wanna press the seams and top stitch. Work the same for the second panel, so you should have 2 panels, one for the front and one for the back interior. Work the side panels the same way as we did the front and back interior panels. Now let's set this aside and we're gonna work on the pockets. So here I've got the vinyl fabric and the binding strip. Fold and press the binding strip in a fourth, just like when you make the strap. Feed the top edges of the vinyl fabric into the fold of the binding all the way in, just like so. Now secure this with some clips and then sew along the edges of the fold with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. My walking foot here works great to handle vinyl fabric. When you sew, make sure that the stitches catch the edges of the binding on the wrong side as well. Position the pocket panel on the right side of the front interior panel, aligning the sides and the bottom edges. And then you want to secure this with some clips. And then sew the sides and the bottom with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Next, we're going to divide this pocket into 2 slots. Instead of using a marking pen, I'm just going to use my hair marker here. Or you can also use tracing wheel. I simply measure 5.5 inch from the side edges. And then use my hair marker to press, to create that little bit of pressing mark, and then sew right on that center line. Now it's time to work on the zipper pocket. So draw the zipper template on the wrong side of the pocket panel, just like shown on the screen right now. Position the pocket panel on the right side of the back interior panel. Align the top edges of the pocket panel with the seams right there. And of course, you want to center the position. Now let's pin this in place and then stitch right along the outline of the zipper template. Once you've done that, cut the center line and the little corner triangles. Of course, be careful not to cut through the stitches when you cut the corner. Once you've done that, turn the pocket panel to the wrong side and then press to make everything nice and neat. And then attach the zipper. I'm not going to show you the rest of the steps since I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know how to do this. But if you're new and you need the tutorial, I will link a separate video so you can go and check that out. I will put that somewhere in the description box and in the pattern as well. Next, we're going to assemble the back interior pretty much the same way as we did the back exterior. However, when you attach the bottom panel, you want to leave about 5 inches of opening and use a slightly larger seam allowance, about 1/2 inch. Next, we're going to work on the zipper closure. So let's prepare the zippers. For this, you will need at least a 14 inches long zipper. Cut a little rectangle to make the zipper tab to be attached to the end of the zipper. Fold the short sides towards the wrong side, about 1/4 inch, and then press. Once you've done that, you want to turn this right side up and then fold in half widthwise, just like so, and then press. And then you want to sew along the short sides with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Clip the inner corners carefully. Now let's turn this right side out, poke the corners, make them nice and flat, and then press. And you should end up with something like this. Insert the zipper tape extension at the end of the zipper into the zipper tab, just like so. Then sew all around with 1/8 inch seam allowance. At the start of the zipper here, you want to fold the zipper tape extension towards the wrong side on an angle, just like that, and then stitch to hold this in place. So the start of your zipper should look just like this. Now let's set this aside and we're gonna work on the zipper panels. So you want to cut 2 strips, one for each side of the zipper. Fold the short sides towards the wrong side about 1/2 inch. Use a seam gauge to make sure that it is pretty accurate. And then press. And you want to repeat the same to the opposite side. Now fold the long sides towards the wrong side, also about 1/2 inch. Do the same for the opposite side. Once you've done that, you want to fold this in half, wrong sides together lengthwise. And then press. Work the exact same way for the second panel. Measure 12.5 inch from the start of the zipper. And then put a little mark on both sides. Apply some basting tape along the edges of the zipper tape from the start of the zipper to the 12.5 inch point mark on both the right side and the wrong side as well. Peel the top layer off from the basting tape. Now you want to insert the zipper tape into the fold of the zipper panel. So you want to have about 1/8 inch or so distance between the zipper teeth with the edges of the zipper panel. Now finger press to secure the zipper and then sew along the sides and the lower edges with 1/8 inch seam allowance. And there you go. So your zipper panel should look just like this at this point. Now you want to work exactly the same way to the opposite side. When you position the second panel, it's very important to make sure that it is aligned with the first panel. And there you go guys, the zipper panel is done. Next you want to mark the center point of the zipper panel. So fold this in half, matching the edges of the zipper panel, and then take your fabric marker and then mark the center point on both sides. Now you want to mark the center point of the back interior, so fold this in half, match the side seams, just like so. And then use your fabric marker to mark the center point of the right side of the bag. And you want to do the same for the opposite side. So the side of the bag with the zipper pocket will be the back side, and the side with the vinyl pocket will be the front side of the bag. Now let's take the zipper panel with the start of the zipper at your left hand side. Unzip the zipper. So we're gonna first attach the panel to the back side. Again, the start of the zipper should be at your left hand side. Match the center point of the zipper panel with the center point of the back interior panel. And you want to position that about 1 inch down from the top edges. And then pin. Then you want to continue pinning the entire zipper panel. Use your seam gauge to maintain the 1 inch distance from the top edges. Once you've done pinning, you want to stitch right along the top edges of the zipper panel with about 1/8 inch seam allowance. So you want to backstitch a couple of times at the start and towards the end to reinforce the zipper panel. So your zipper panel should look just like this. Now let's work the same way for the front side. And that's it guys, the zipper panel should look just like this. Now you want to unzip the zipper and then turn the back interior right side out. Now it's time to assemble our satchel. First you want to make sure that the exterior shell is facing wrong side out. Insert the back interior into the back exterior. So the right sides of the back interior and the exterior should be touching each other at this point. And you also want to make sure that the front exterior is facing the front interior, the one with the vinyl pocket. And the back exterior is facing the back interior, the one with the zipper pocket. Now you want to secure them in place with some clips. Start by matching the side seams. And once you've done that, you want to sew all around with 3/8 inch seam allowance. Turn the bag right side out through the opening hole. Do this gently so that you won't rip any seams. Finger press the top edges, make them nice and neat. If you want, you can use iron on low setting as well. And once you're happy with it, go back to your sewing machine and give this a final top stitching. The last step will be to close the opening. So fold the raw edges of the opening hole towards the wrong side, about ½ inch, and then sew along the edges to close it. Once you've done that, you want to put the interior back inside. And our satchel is pretty much done at this point. Now you may attach the adjustable strap, and there you have it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, goodbye!